I would like a gay man to come back from his weekend and say, I had an amazing weekend with my husband, with my partner, and we went and we do that. It's not about checking boxes. It's not about quota, and it's not about any agenda or the woke agenda. We don't understand our privileged position. Verna Myers says that diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being allowed to dance. I'm not asking anybody to be anything more than
what they should be.
Yes,
in
exactly.
The first place.
And this is more important as ever now that we are entering the era of AI. Belonging means feeling, as you said, it's about how I feel, feeling that I can dance any way I want without being judged.
When this job of DEI is not needed anymore, how is the world look like? Welcome to the Leadership in Progress podcast. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Likewise, thank you so much for inviting me.
We are here to discuss about diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. But first, let's start with definitions. Because our audience are people that they work with teams, they are managers, supervisors, or they just work with other people. So I think diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, they are becoming buzzwords. Mm-hmm. So let's clarify what is and what is not, maybe, diversity, equity,
and if you allow me, I will start by what it isn't, because as you said, it's a buzzword and it's used, to explain things that have nothing to do with DEI.
Okay.
So if you want to start with what DEI isn't, it's not about checking boxes, it's not about quota, and it's not about any agenda or the woke agenda. So when we talk about DEI, it's about how we create, how we build teams so that our people in the teams can come in with their authentic selves, we can say, with their full potential, and be able to propel a team forward. So especially when we're talking about leadership, whether it's a manager or a team leader, it's very important to say that it's all about being intentional in your leadership. It's all about how you yourself understand yourself, how you understand the people that are in your team, so that you can all together move forward. So I like always to start about what it isn't, so that we take it, get it out of our way. Of course, we can explain a bit more later. Why did I say all that? Like, why it's not about quota and why it's not about...
Why it's not about... Okay. Let's dive in right now.
Right,
why it's not about quota and why it's not about...
This is a very frequent misconception that, first of all, the most frequent misconception is when we're going to talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and this I have it every time I enter an organization, whether it's to do strategy, the diversity, equity, inclusion strategy or a workshop, is that we're going to talk about women, and we're going to talk about the LGBTQ plus community. All right. This is what's happening in Cyprus. When you are abroad, especially in the US, usually DI is strictly connected to gender and race, because race has played a very important role in the society for many, many years in the US, right? I think it makes sense.
And this is how it started, actually, back in the 60s or 70s, when diversity we started having these discussions, as the first two big pillars was race and gender.
Yes, exactly. But now we've moved beyond race and gender. And now when we talk about diversity, we are talking about a lot of things. First of all, we talk about religion, we talk about neurodivergency, that's a very big issue now. We're talking about people with disabilities or gifted people. It's any diversified way that humanity manifests. So basically, we're talking about humans.
Yes.
Humans, how we are to our core, and what we bring into our life, into our teams, wherever we are.
And it's not just the things that we can see, but it's the things we cannot see as well.
Totally. We're
For
talking
example,
about
cognitive diversity, how we think different, how we behave different, how we like to communicate different. I mean, this is also something that sometimes we neglect to put into the diversity, but we are different as human beings, even if we look like each other.
Exactly, and that takes me to intersectionality. That's why when we talk about diversity, we talk about intersectionality, because I am a woman, right? But at the same time, I am a white woman. And at the same time, I hold a lot of other multiple identities. So I am a woman, I am a white woman, I'm living in Cyprus, which I'm part of the majority, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm also a native speaker of Greek, because I might be a woman, white, being a permanent resident in Cyprus, but Greek wouldn't be my first language.
Of course,
right?
Of course.
So this is how it's so. That's why we have to address it in intersectionality terms, because diversity it's already there. We don't have to do anything about it. It's there. It's part of our humanity. So that's why we starting this conversation of how we can allow this humanity, these threats, to work towards our benefit at the workplace.
Okay, so diversity is actually how we allow different people to sit on the table. Okay.
Exactly.
What about equity?
Equity, yes. And also, usually, sometimes we use equity and equality, and there's a confusion there. Equality, first of all, which is a much simpler word, because it's something that we've been using forever, especially when we talk about democracy. So equality means that everybody has the same rights. That's very clear, right? We are, if we believe that we live in an equal community, in an equal country, it means that everybody is equal.
And some people, they might think that this is fair, but some people, they might say this is not fair, because not all of us need the same things. The same things, not all of us.
Exactly. Because that's why we're talking about equity, which equity can be used as a synonym of fairness. Equity means that I make sure that I get rid of any obstacles that people might face in order to access those rights. Okay, so this is the big difference. It's quite easy to say, can I put it into an example? So especially if we're talking about leadership and teams. So let's say you're a team leader, right? And to create this bonding every now and then with your team, you arrange to go for coffee, for drinks, whatever you want after work, right? So you address the invitation to everybody, right? So that means that you are approaching them with a sense of equality, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets invited.
And you include them.
Yes, of course.
You include them.
Everybody is invited. So the fact that you know and understand the needs of your people means that if you have a person in your team that moves with a wheelchair, is using a wheelchair, right? Then you think from before that the cafeteria, the bar, wherever you're going to go, that can give access to that person. Because if you invite them and they Google it, because usually the people that don't belong in the majority or are facing specific obstacles, they look before to see if they can really. So if sometimes we don't think that the people will think before if they're going to have access to that. And we might see that some people don't come to these invitations and we don't understand why, right? So if we make sure that everybody has access to that, then it means that we are working in terms of equity. We're ensuring that everybody has access to that invitation. And of course, diversity manifests in the table where everybody eats whatever they want. They eat or they drink, or someone doesn't eat, someone doesn't drink, and nobody comments about, right? And this is such a simple example for me of how this is how it should be when we bring ideas into the table. That, everybody brings their own idea, and they should have the same value and be heard, and be seriously considered, right?
So that's also the inclusion part, how you include everybody in the conversation. Yes. And then here comes the belonging part, which is, from what I see, belonging is more how I feel. I feel like I feel safe to speak up. I feel like I'm not going to be judged. I feel I belong. While inclusion is you include me. So belonging is how I feel as a result of your behaviors, as a result of what you have created, a psychological safe environment or anything. So then we have the belonging.
That is true. Verna Myers says that diversity has been invited to the party. Mm-hmm. Inclusion is being allowed to dance, right? And I add that belonging means feeling, as you said, it's about how I feel, feeling that I can dance any way I want without being judged.
Yes.
So I think this is very important what you said. So first of all is inclusion needs actions. Diversity, as I said, it's already there. It's been there for centuries. It's been there ever since we came on this, we set foot on this earth, right? So what changes now, what's the big difference with inclusion is that inclusion demands actions. Because think about
intentions.
Totally.
Intention.
Of course, it has to be intentional.
It's not automatically.
No. Think of it like when we start building our team and we say our team, organization, whatever. And that's why I said it's not about quota. You're not achieving anything if you just count how many women you have, how many men you have in your team, or how many young people you have. Because we're talking about age diversity as well. If you have a lot of youngsters or you have a lot of middle-aged people in your team, it's not about making that, putting all the ingredients.
Making look nice.
No, because that means nothing. It's not about counting heads. It's about making those heads count. And that's what inclusion is all about, is that it's making sure that you do have different people, different perspectives in your team, but then you have to make space for those people to be able to bring that change in.
On the other hand, you need to make sure that you will bring those people on the table. And then here comes quota that you mentioned before. It's not about quota, but then isn't it, at least in the beginning, is it or isn't it? Because it's not about quota as such, but someone needs to make sure that these people, and when I say these people, all of the people, they have the same right to be on the table if they have the skills.
Yeah, because you see, sometimes when we are in majority, we say different people and we mean other people.
Yeah. That's why I corrected
exactly.
that. That's why I corrected
and then when we are on the other side, everybody.
People, of course.
So basically, this is, again, another misconception that we're going to start counting people, counting abilities, disabilities, counting, how many Muslims, how many Christians, how many, It's not about that. It starts from, that's why it has to be intentional. First of all, you make a research in your organization and you see where you stand. So then how do you bring people without really doing... seeing them as numbers, on a spreadsheet. You are more intentional on how you communicate about your brand outside. So you know that the people that are interested in progressive organizations that host diversified people in their teams, know that that's how you work, all right? The next thing is you go into your vacancy post when you have a position. How do you advertise that? What is the wording you use in that advertisement? Because language is such a powerful tool, and we're not reading between the lines. The language itself says a lot, all right? Yeah. So a lot of people...
And Greek language has a lot of barriers in terms of...
Lots.
In terms of
because we have
inclusion.
Because it's a gendered language. Yeah, it's not... It's a bit... Things are a bit more subtle in English language. So that makes people, discourages people from applying in specific positions. So this is how you do it. You identify the obstacles that people might have in coming at you. So basically, you're just really opening the door so that a bigger, diversified crowd comes to you. So then you have a bigger talent pool to choose from, all right? Of course, sometimes you might feel that you are at a point that actually, we are like, I'm talking about extremes now, like we're 80% men and gender is example, and 20% women. And we know that our audience is equally men and women, right? Our audience, our clients. So we try to understand, why is this happening, right? Is it really happening because that's the people that are interested in what we do? Or could we be communicating better what we do to attract those people? Because again, they are part of our of the people that we want to bring in.
Who is the decision maker, and what are their preferences, and what are their choices when they recruit people? Of course. Because we see people that they have this tendency of recruiting people that they are more like them. They have this bias.
Affinity bias, similarity bias.
Yes. So I like and trust people that they are more like me. So then we end up in having teams with big blind spots. And less diversified characteristics.
Yes. So first of all, we start. I wouldn't say first of all we start from top, but it's very important if you start from the top. So there has to be buy-in from the high leadership of an organization that they wanna. This is the way they're gonna lead.
Because unless they act as examples, they cannot then force the trainings about DEI and the procedures and everything. Because then it feels forceful. It feels like a checkbox that you need to tick. But let's move into why bother? Why care about that? I mean, apart from the human aspect, why should any team leader, any company, any organization care about DEI?
Because they're losing out of talent and they're losing money, right? Because a lot of research shows that teams that are more diversified outperform homogeneous teams. There has been in the beginning, it's a bit challenging, and there is specific research that has been done, and they put two teams, one homogeneous team and one diversified team, and they gave them a task. And not long, the homogeneous group really, accelerate, and produce the results, and they're really, really doing well. But at the end, they just reached a plateau because it was just the same people, just recycling.
Big blind spot again.
Exactly, recycling the same ideas. Yeah. On the other hand, a diversified team needs a lot of time to overcome these conflicts and challenges that they have with each other in order to establish a safe space, a consensus to move forward. But that's when new ideas come into place, right? That's when innovation starts. Only when we have different people sitting at a table and challenging each other ideas.
And have the psychological safe environment that allows them to challenge each other with respect and acceptance.
Of course.
And I think there was another study by McKinsey back in 2020 that shows that diversified teams, they were 50% more profitable than their peer non-diversified teams. So it's not about the human aspect, but it's also a profitable choice that you need to make in the organization and the team.
For sure, and this is why, and it's not a political issue as well, because a lot of managers, leaders are being hesitant to talk about these issues because they feel that they are heavily politicized. But that's not how it is. It's exactly what you need so that your people can bring their full potential and make profits. Let's be honest, business are there to be profitable, right? So it's not just about human working and appreciating your human capital. It's about monetizing that, monetizing their skills and their abilities. And the only way to do that is by really allowing them to offer what they can offer. I have this, I'm not going to mention where this happened, but this is a personal story where, they invited me to be a part of a team in an organization. And I remember their first comments were that we really need someone, that to bring some out of the box ideas, to think a bit differently. But actually, that's not what they really wanted. You know what I mean? So when I entered the organization, I realized that all they wanted was just to continue working the same way that they used to work before. And why do we have all these obstacles? First of all, because it's out of fear that we're going to lose the privileges that we already have. Because there is a big discussion about that. If we bring more women in, it means that men are going to lose their jobs. If we bring more people with disabilities, that means that able people, although I don't like using that word, are going to lose their job. There's always that fear of someone is losing something, but it's not about that.
Or getting more uncomfortable. It's going to take longer.
True.
I need to provide make other procedures for that, make exceptions, make all this. So it's not comfortable for people.
Yes,
to adapt.
But it's because of all these misconceptions. Because actually, when you are strategically and intentional about it, it's just things that you do. It starts from inclusive communication, to really, at the same time, internally to your employees and to your audience, your people, your clients, your customers. And it's about being inclusive in your team as well. It's all about propelling your business ahead. Nothing than that.
To add on that, because unless you put it in as a holistic approach, then you see organizations bringing trainers, having programs about DEI, and nothing really changes because it's just an external person bringing ideas, bringing knowledge, and then how can you embed those skills or knowledge or new ideas into the everyday life? So how does this look like in the everyday life? I mean, how does inclusive leadership look like?
Let me answer, though, what you mentioned before about you feel that you're going to do something invasive in the organization when you're entering your journey with DEI. And sometimes it might look invasive when you just do a one-off workshop. Because that's what usually happens. Yeah. We see it as part of CSR, right? And it cannot be that.
Yeah, the checkbox.
Exactly.
The checkbox. We just do that because we have to do that, because it's in our agenda. But then one-off things, they don't actually work. They just throw money out of the window.
Many times they don't. Yeah. I wouldn't just cancel them totally, because many times I have people that are coming towards me at the end of the workshop that they feel that they're happy that these issues are being discussed in the workplace. Yeah. So the people that are already there, but we don't want to preach to the converted, right? We want to bring the people that have all these objections, and are still reserved. But at least it works as a reminder to those people that really believe in these things, that some people are starting to talk about these things. So it's never a lost case. But it can be challenging for the people that are not ready.
But sometimes it can be also harmful, because raising the awareness for the people that they already know the truth and not doing anything apart from that sometimes can increase the gap for those people. I mean, they can realize that, okay, we just did that and nothing's going to change.
Yeah, true. And also sometimes you increase the polarity between the different opinions, right? And I see that happening sometimes in my workshop. That is my biggest struggle, for that not to happen, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, it needs a very gentle, handling, because we are talking about issues that we've never talked before in the workplace, right? We've never really talked about humanity. Now we're starting about things that we bring as humans at work. Remind me what was your question?
And then the question is, how does it look like inclusive leadership? Let's because our audience, they are team leaders, supervisors, managers, and they are people that they lead other people, mostly, not only, but mostly. So how does it look like in the everyday life to be an inclusive leader?
Actually, that's how a leader should be anyway,
that's leadership, actually. Yes. But let's put it under that umbrella. And leadership, it's all about being inclusive. Yes. But let's elaborate a bit on that.
I like being very simple with examples. Let's say that you're in a meeting, right? And you are the person that called the meeting. So the first thing that you want to make sure is that the people have an agenda. And that might sound like a normal thing, but not a lot of people are doing it, right? Many times they're just calling a meeting without really having an agenda. So that means that you're not providing the people with the time to really reflect on the issues that they're going to talk about.
What is the purpose of the meeting?
Exactly.
Why are we here?
Exactly. And of course, we have to understand that people function differently. Other people, are very much quick to respond. Other people need more time to process things. So the first thing is that it means that you're calling a meeting and you have an agenda, right? And this agenda has been communicated and allowed time for your people to be prepared for that. Then it's you observe your team, who is not speaking at the meetings, who is talking a lot at the meetings. Why is this happening, right? Am I really giving the opportunity to everybody to talk? Do I have those people that when I bring an idea, they always seem to just agree with my idea, and other people just stay silent? So one thing that I say to people to start to exercise and practice, let's say, is especially when there's this power balance and you're leading the meeting and you're bringing an idea. You're bringing your idea at the table, that I had this amazing idea, or I had this idea and I want to discuss it with you, right?
Yeah.
So ask the people in your team to give you 2 reasons why this is an amazing idea and it would work, and 2 reasons why can fail. Means
give the permission to people to disagree with you, or give permission to people to speak
exactly.
up. Because the power game is there, but you don't realize that because you are the beneficiary. You're the person that has the power.
Of course, you're at the top, and they feel that you might take it personally if they disagree with your idea,
or you might look negative.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I work with, they say, I don't want to look like the negative person in the room.
Yeah.
So if I have something, I don't share it because I don't want them to think that I'm negative.
But you have to build your argument then. You know what I mean? You have to build your argument, whether it's positive or negative towards that idea, right? So I think that gives people, and I say that this, now I put a bit my communication hat, this means that you're giving the people, you're creating a crisis communication plan.
Okay.
Because when you have an idea and then you go for that idea, let's say that the consensus was that you go for that idea, and if for any reason that you didn't predict it fails, then you had all these ideas that it might fail because of this, it might fail because of that. So you are ready to respond to the failure of that idea, right? So it helps you and it keeps you more informed. And of course, you avoid the people in your entourage that they're not really offering something other than just patting you on the back and just telling you how amazing you are, and sometimes we are a bit naive, to see that we're not profiting from that and we're not moving forward. And it's just... on the contrary, it just keeps us restricted.
And what I observe with the team leaders when we work together or team coaching engagements is that sometimes people confuse confidence with competence. And we have some silent people in the room that unless you ask them, they don't really feel like, you never asked me. For example, there was this team and this person had this idea. It was a brilliant idea. He never shared that idea in the room. And then when he said out of the blue, the manager said, but why you didn't say anything? And they said, you never asked me.
Exactly.
You never asked me. So some people, they don't feel like, okay, this is my time of speaking up unless you ask them. So in the meeting, someone needs to address.
Without putting them on the spot, right?
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yes, it's about understanding, and you avoid the meeting after the meeting also, which is a horrible thing, right?
And then another one is that we confuse silence with agreement.
Yes.
Yeah? Just because I didn't say anything, it doesn't mean that I am on board. It doesn't mean that I agree. Okay, if my personality is like that and when I have something to say, I share it, I'm more courageous or more confident or more extrovert, fair enough. You know what I'm thinking. But what if I'm more introvert, more silent, more people-oriented, and I don't want to challenge a lot. So what happens then? Am I on board? Or you think that I'm on board, and then when I face a problem, I don't bring it to you, or I say this is not going to work, or we have another meeting because we didn't fully agree on things.
So facilitation, basically, it's another thing that needs to be happening in meetings, right? And if we think that we are the person that we are at a higher level, it's better if the facilitator is one of the team members and you're rotating that role as well. So this is important as well. So if I am the team leader, I don't have to be the person that takes the responsibility to make sure that everybody talks or that everybody participated, right?
Yeah.
You can, give that to a member of the team.
And that prepares also people
to hold that space.
To hold that space.
Yes.
And it's not about, it starts from the leader and the leadership, but it's not 100% their responsibility. They need to pass the accountability to the other people as well.
And accountability and show trust.
And
the two go together, right? So I think basically all this time, Vaso, we are talking about, I am sure that we're talking about things that you talk generally when you talk about leadership.
Of course.
Yes, it's the same things. It's just reminding.
It's common sense that it's not common.
Yes, totally uncommon. Yes, and I understand why. And that's why when we started this conversation, I started with what it isn't, because this is what takes us back. Think of that thing. Think of what's happening now in the US, like ever since Trump got into government. The work I'm doing as a DI consultant is illegal in the US at the moment. You're not allowed to do that work. And this is exactly because they try to demonize, everything that has to do with diversity, equity, inclusion, while it's everything that we should be doing when we're doing leadership the right way. Nothing different than that. So I hope, thankfully, the EU, it's following a different path. And now we have the new directive about equal pay parity legislation. And by 2026, a lot of organizations also have to report on how they're performing with, because DI is under the ESG, under the social criteria. So at least the EU is, at this point, showing the way of how we should...
But how fast are we moving, Anna?
Very slow, especially...
We move very slow.
Basically, we are moving...
Here in Cyprus, we even discuss about the basics, the equal payment for males and females.
Diversity, equity, inclusion is at this... infancy in Cyprus. But now it is changing. It is changing, and I can see it because I'm busier than ever. And I know that comes because of all these legislations and EU directives. It's not a problem. I remember once I was at an event. There was this Australian woman that came. She was going to be given an award. This is a Cypriot Australian woman that is doing amazing work in Australia, and they were going to give her an award here in Cyprus. And she came with her partners in Cyprus. And when I went to the award, I met her partner, which is working on DEI. So we chatted a bit during the networking event. And it was interesting when she told me that when I started talking to her, and that's a few years back, and she said, "You are still a bit idealistic about it." I am. It's true. Everything comes from a personal interest for me in social justice. She said, that's how I started when I was very young, but now I don't take that path because it can be very consuming emotionally. And now I'm just going with explaining that this is the law.
Now I'm getting more curious.
Yes.
Okay, what was the moment that you realized that I want to work in DI? This is my expertise. This is what I'm going to do. This is what.
Nothing in my life was a specific moment. I think it's one thing led to another. Basically, I started, as we already mentioned, I am started from communications, right? So from communications, then I moved at this, and I'm doing both with diversity, equity, inclusion. So while I was working with organizations, corporations about the communication, I always felt that my ideas were kind of like always be seen as very progressive, or that simple examples like we're going to do an advertisement and it's going to be an award, a scholarship about students, right? We're going to give award scholarships, and we advertise to bring people to show interest that they want to be part of that. So, and then we advertise, and they wanted to put the accountant for the accounting, they wanted to put a young man, and for the teacher, they wanted to put a woman. And for me, it's like, no, we shouldn't be doing that. We could be doing the other way around. Let's not continue doing, the normal stereotypical. Yes, let's do something different, and they wouldn't understand it.
That's the
they wouldn't understand
that's the amazing thing. They don't know what they don't know.
Yes.
It's amazing how.
And I saw it manifest in so many ways. Communication has to do with language.
Okay, now you open another chapter, which is very important, I think. Language and inclusive languages and communication. It can be either a huge tool or a big barrier, because if you are more empathetic and if you learn how to read between the lines, you can you can find out a lot more than what it's been said about a person from the way they speak.
The way you said it, it's like what we shouldn't do in the first place, and make assumptions about other people that we don't know.
Of course, but
right?
you cannot avoid it.
Yes,
you cannot avoid it. I mean, when I hear someone talking about the male, again in Greek language, the male gender, and they refer to positions.
Yes.
You cannot avoid it by making assumptions. I mean, okay, intentionally and logically and cognitive, you can put that aside, but you will have that in your mind moving forward, and you want to check it. I mean, it's human.
Yes. So, okay, let's say you're a speaker and you're talking you're talking to your audience, and you address them in the male constantly. In English, it can be like, hello, you guys, these are the basic examples that we're using. And for many years, we've been using it, whether in the team there are men or women, right? And we're using guys. Or we say, again, in Greek, it's more obvious, like the director or the manager, and you say it in the male. What you need to understand is that people are listening now. And that sensitivity that you said actually is not sensitivity. It's correct use of language. So this is another thing that you have to change. When you're addressing a diversified audience, whether that is in gender or any other aspect of diversity, you have to accommodate that your language is respectful towards the people that you're talking to. So I see a lot of people not understanding that. On the other hand, when you're on the receiving end, you have to be a bit more open to that. This is a new conversation that is starting. Not everybody is ready. A lot of things are happening on a subconscious level, all right? So it takes effort from both sides, let's say. I think all we need to do, because I do make comments and I try to be as sweet as possible. I do go and talk even to people that I don't know. When they are speakers at panels, at the end, if I feel that they really pushed it, in a way that it will hurt them, I will go and comment. And many times they just say, I haven't thought about it like that. Yes. So we just approach with openness. I think that's the most important thing. You don't have to judge someone, and just because they're using that kind of language doesn't mean that the language corresponds to how they think. Many times it does, I get it, but sometimes it doesn't. So with open mind, we can address that or challenge that.
I guess it depends. If this is someone that you meet first time, you give them the benefit of the doubt. if this is someone that you know and you know more about this person and you know the language, you can make some safe assumptions when you know the person and when you know more about them. So I guess it has to do with the connection and the level of connection that you have with the
other person. And if
person.
we're talking about you're in a team, right? And instead of making assumptions, you can just directly create, as a team, you should be at that point when you could directly ask the question, what do you actually mean about that?
Yeah.
Just it's not about putting people on the spot. It's about really clearing the air.
Yeah.
What I understand or
because
how I feel.
Sometimes people, they don't realize that this is what they meant. So what I'm getting from you when you say that is that you mean like that. Is that what you want to say? And sometimes people, they just say, no, this is not what I meant.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I meant. And then you clarify that. But if you leave it on your head, making stories, overthinking and saying, these guys are, and then
this is why in a team you have to be able to you have to be able to communicate, right? And a leader is the one that sets those grounding rules of how we communicate with each other.
Of course, when this job of DEI is not needed anymore, how is the world look like?
Unfortunately, I don't see it happening very soon to not be needed because we are humans.
In the distance far, in an ideal work, how the work look like if we don't need DEI experts?
Yes, it means that we are being true leaders. It means that we have done the work to understand how our brain works, right? That we checked our assumptions and our biases at the door, which we can never be able to do that, right? It's just accepting that we do have them and making sure that we don't bring them into our work or in any other parts of our lives. So basically, it's when we've done the work to ourselves, and if we've done the work to ourselves, it means that we better understand human beings, and we just want everybody to reach their full potential. Yeah, I think it looks more human, and actually this is what I use in the first slide of my presentation. Is I strive for humans to human better. This is my mantra in a way, because I'm not asking anybody to be anything more than
what they should be.
Yes,
in
exactly.
The first place. Yeah.
And this is more important as ever now that we are entering the era of AI, because all those assumptions, those biases, those stereotypes are ingrained in the same AI tools that we're using. So the future of work, as you said, is not going to be, even if we had, if we said that we didn't need DI, I think because the way we work is changing rapidly anyway now, so I cannot even imagine how it's be. I think the fight to be more human, it's more important than ever now. And I'm talking as a person that is embracing artificial intelligence, and it's supporting technology. And
it starts from within, leadership starts from within, and self-leadership is a big part, self-inclusion, it's a big part. Unless I can accept myself, unless I can identify my triggers, unless I can regulate myself, how can I accept other people for who they are? How can I include them? And how can I be this human leadership with humanity?
Yeah.
How can I approach that aspect unless I embrace who I really am and do the work with myself first?
Exactly. And it's very and it's very hard to do that. And nobody said that it's an easy task, an easy job. But funnily enough, when we talk about this, we refer to them as soft skills. Honestly, this is killing me, to be honest. Every time I hear when we talk about public speaking or communication or diversity, equity,
how
inclusion.
It started, and we call them soft skills. Back in the 60s, they were referring hard skills, the technological parts, the technological skills, and they were referring to soft skills, the other ones that they didn't have machinery in them. But they are more important than ever. I mean, they are not soft.
And exactly. And think about wording: hard and soft.
Yes.
And what else? What other things we're thinking when we talk about heart and leadership? We think about men.
Yeah,
When
men.
we talk about
Female leadership
soft
and
and
then,
sensitivity,
yeah,
which has nothing to do with gender, because we have to accept also that gender itself is a social construct.
Or when we ask men to show their female leadership, come on.
There's no such thing, honestly. Yeah.
Show approach your female leadership or your female side. No. I've seen a lot of women not having soft skills and be very masculine, and I've seen a lot of men being empathetic and being humanized and how they are. So it doesn't have to do with gender. It's just something, a definition that started to distinguish machinery from other skills.
So it's hard work. It's hard work, and there's a lot of resistance, and I get it. And as I said, it comes from fear, but I genuinely believe that it's the only way forward.
Okay, someone that is listening to us right now, that they never thought about touching this topic of DEI. They run a team, they are in their everyday hustle at work, and they are very busy, but they never thought about that, and they randomly checked into that episode. What would you say to them? Where should they start from?
It means that they're not fully they're not fully attuned with their teams.
Yeah, but let's not judge our audience. Come on.
No, but that is...
But what is it if they want to dig deeper, okay? Because maybe sometimes, you know what, there is this, and I've been there, getting a promotion, getting a leadership position, it's not the first thing that you think automatically. The first thing that you think automatically is, how do I make success happen? How do I bring the numbers? How do I prove myself? This is the first thing that most of the people think when they take this first time leadership position, and then they start. It's like the Maslow hierarchy needs.
Yes.
First is survival, even if you take on a new position. So, and then you start thinking about, it's not about me, it's about my team. It's about communication, it's about inclusive, it's about and all this stuff. So I feel like it's normal not to have it in the beginning. So if someone is listening to us, what would you give them? What would you advise them?
I like what you said about the pyramid, and that the first level is, survival mode. So basically, when I was a bit harsh, when I said it means that they're not tuned with their team, I meant those people that are still on survival mode, because that will take you nowhere.
But
right?
But our organization can put you in a survival mode sometimes.
I know. So that's why it has to be buy-in from the top. It's not about HR. This is another big problem when we talk about DI. It's not about something that the HR department deals with. It's how each and every one of us manifests every day in their job. So we're talking about a leader. It means that you don't understand that when someone comes in the morning at work, they might have left kids at home. They might have been new parents, a father or a mother that just had a newborn. It means that you don't know that one of the members of your team might be part of the LGBTQ plus community. It means that you don't know that some disabilities, if you have a neurodivergent person in your team. So to me, it doesn't. I know it sounds like it's a lot of work, but it's not when you create that space that people can express this. And another misconception is, I had this. I find this example very interesting when I was doing at a university a workshop, and this was an online workshop on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Before the lunch break, we were talking about, I had some very strong opinions about, I don't understand why we need to talk about sex at work, because as I said, the biggest conflict for people comes when we talk about women's rights and the LGBTQ plus community, and about sexuality. So there were a couple of people in the group that said, what is this thing? Why do we need to talk about our sexual orientation at work? And I don't understand it. And I try to explain that it's not that. Anyway, fast forward, we go to the break. We come back from the break. And before we start again, I just ask what they had for lunch, and just to warm up to go into the to do the work again. So that person said, I went to the canteen because my wife didn't cook anything. So I didn't bring anything with me at work today.
Okay.
So I said, so basically now you just got out of the closet now. He said, what do you mean?
You just told us you're...
Yes, you just told us that, you are a heteronormative male that is married to a woman.
Yeah.
So, what do you mean? I said, when you asked me before, why do we need to talk about our sexual orientation and what we, sometimes they're very hard, what we like doing in bed. People can be very strong about it. And I say, that's what we mean. I would like a gay man to come back from his weekend and say, I had an amazing weekend with my husband, with my partner, and we went and we do that. Or whether it's a lesbian or someone else. This is what we don't understand, that this is what we mean about bringing our food. We don't understand our privileged position. That's another huge conversation when we talk about these issues, that we don't understand that we come from privilege and we're allowed to talk about other things while at the same time we silent other people.
Yeah, because again, we feel like it's common sense because we don't think about it to say my husband took the kids this morning to the school, or my husband didn't make this, or my husband that, or my wife that. But if you were not allowed to talk about your husband, how would that look like?
Yeah.
Would it be easy? Would it be if you felt like every time you speak about that, you would be judged?
Yes.
You will be, people will think anything about you. We take things for granted, and this is the most difficult part, is the things that we don't see.
Exactly. And it's not about accusing people or victimizing people, because usually we can very easily go from victim to predator, right?
Yeah, it's the drama triangle.
Exactly.
We try to fix people.
Yes, yes. So we can be at any given moment any of the two. So it's not about guilt-tripping people about what they're doing wrong. It's about reminding them, of where they stand. And that's why I said about privilege before. Sometimes I say how many, because everybody comes with their own struggles, right? And a leader might think, I have my own, struggles, that come with my role, and then I have to take that burden, and then I have to take the burden and that load from my people. Yes, but that's what leadership is all about, right? So it's not about diminishing what makes you uncomfortable or the struggles that you're bringing. It's just reminding you of what are the other people's, struggles. And again, brings us back all to our understanding our humanity. Many times I ask in rooms how many are right-handed and how many are left-handed. And of course, always the majority are the right-handed people. Usually it's the majority the right-handed. And then I say, so every morning that you wake up, you just say, high five. You're going to rule the world today because you're the majority? No. You don't think of it. You're starting from a privileged position without understanding that for you.
Yeah, and we don't realize sometimes how lucky we are because, again, we take things for granted. Maybe you were born in Africa in a village that you don't have the basics. Even that is a privilege that you are here. I am here. We get to have this podcast. We get to have food on the table. Those are the things that we don't count. And it's not the zero. We don't start from zero. We start from a privileged point.
Exactly.
The
playing field is not leveled. That's why my blood boils when I hear a lot of talk about meritocracy, that it's all about merit. Why do we need to go through this DEI lens? Why don't we just...
It's usually privileged people that they say
because
those statements.
That's exactly what Trump used in the exact words that Trump used in his inauguration speech, that they're going to lead with merit. And of course, we can see his entourage, which now is not the same with Elon Musk and the rest of the people that were born into money. So we have to understand that those people that finished a very good university, that they had networking opportunities, they had access to capital. is a totally different situation than someone that's starting from scratch. So yes, we can talk about merit if we are making sure that we're everybody starting from the same,
which is not the case.
Which is not the case.
It's never the case.
So
it's never the case.
Since it's not, then we need to identify the obstacles that people are facing. So we go circle back to the beginning. Have to identify the obstacles that people face in order to access their basic human rights.
Anna, thank you very much for this wonderful conversation. What is one message that you would like to leave the world with?
I think I want my message to be multiplied, like let's all strive to human better.
Thank you very much for being here today. It was my pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. It was really an interesting conversation.
Thank you, Anna.